For those of you who don't know me, I'm David Guest. I'm a solution architect and technology evangelist. Been with Coach O, Third Space, Oxford Computer Group for 10 years. So you're fed up of listening to me. It's probably a good way of putting it. One of the things that we have to do today is understand the risk to a business of a data breach, of an attack, of something actually taking place. Sarah earlier on was talking about potentially ransomware and the fact that the ransomware stuff, they're not really interested in the money so much and the financial stuff, it's the data. Protecting the data is what is key to this. But we need to make sure that the board are listening to us. And quite often, as we found out from Link, the board just wants some reports. They want to be able to see that things are actually working well. They're not actually that interested in, well, what if it doesn't work? Well, until of course when it doesn't work, and they can't have a board meeting and they can't do the board papers because none of them have got any IT. But that's a bit too late. Has anyone ever looked at the costs of a data breach? Well, fortunately, IBM do it for us. Working with an institute called PONAMI, I think I've pronounced that right, but probably not. They do a review every year of how much a data breach could cost you on average. The average cost of a data breach this year is $4.3 million. Okay, if your business can afford to lose $4.3 million, can you put your hand up and I'd like to come and work for you? I'll take the 4.3 million, yes? It's quite frightening. There is a cost per record. So if you lose one file, one email goes to the wrong place, that has a cost. It might only be £200, but that's still a cost. The problem is most data breaches are not one email. It's all of your emails for the past 5 months sent to your CEO, and that's where the cost starts to grow. Most of the threats that people see are now cloud-based. Well, 45% doesn't sound like most, but remember, we're not talking about the difference between cloud and on-premises anymore. It's cloud, on-premises, remote, laptops, devices that are at home. So 45% being on cloud is still the majority of what we're talking about. And we need to be aware of this. So, where does the risk come from? Well, it's unintentional. Yeah, that email I meant to send to David Guest at Coach O, I actually sent it to somebody else. I just typed in David and hit enter in Outlook and it put the wrong address in. Sorry, bit late. We've got intentional risks. I wanted to send out all of this data to somebody to publish it. My name is Edward Snowden. You might have heard of me. I now can't go home. But that's just people leaking data. What about the people who want to take your intellectual property with them because they're moving to a new business and they want to set up a new competitor using your data? Well, that's also intentional, and that's insider risk, and we need to be aware of it. The data we're after, intellectual property, definitely. PII, doesn't anybody love PII? Isn't it great? And we've got some lovely systems for detecting things like national insurance number. If somebody puts a national insurance number into a document, we can track it. Got an interesting sentence for you. On 09-11-01, a plane crashed into the 2 towers. Sorry, that's got a national insurance number in it. Therefore, it's a hit. So we need to be aware of things like this. It's not just enough to look for a bit of data. The context of the data is also important. And of course, we get attacks. And attacks are usually what we're all worried about. We need to keep the bad people out, and that's what security is for. Actually, that's not what security is for. How many people here signed into their email this morning? Yeah, if you didn't put your hand up, I'm sure your boss will want to know later. As you signed in, you were validated, weren't you? You were checked. Are you David Guest at coacho.co.uk? Do you know the password? And actually, I don't use a password, I use something else. Did I do MFA? Yes, I did. Okay, that's security. That's letting me in. A byproduct of security is keeping the wrong people out. But security's job is letting the right people in, and we need to remember that. We said the cost of a breach was millions. How about if we can reduce that? Instead of costing you 4-point-something million every time there's a breach, let's reduce that to 1. Okay, that's quite a good saving. According to IBM, it does feel weird talking about IBM inside Microsoft, but according to IBM, if you have a good security posture and you have the right machine learning, the right artificial intelligence in place, you can reduce the potential cost of your breach by 70%. Okay, let's think of it as that one email that cost us £200. Well, that's now cost us 50. That's a huge saving. So the average cost of a breach can be reduced if we do it properly. If you get your board to understand that when you get breached, it's not an if, it's a when. By putting a good security posture in place with the tools, whether that be the Defender stack, Darktrace, Sentinel, whether we're going to put things into Slack, whether we're going to put it into someone, but having something in place that does all that for us, we can make sure that that is going to reduce our costs and reduce them quite effectively. But to do that, we need some information. Isn't that what we're talking about? I just need to know where my data is supposed to be and what data it is. It's no good just saying, I've got a pile of data I need to protect. Well, which data? We've got marketing departments who publish things all the time. Should that data be protected? Well, yes, but does it need the same protection as your board report that actually is going to come out once a month, or your annual figures before they're released? So we need to understand that as well. So with that data management, we need to understand what you have. Where is it and how are people using it? We need to stamp it. I'm probably one of the oldest people in the room, which I actually take as a badge of honour because I'm still here. But I remember the days where you used to have a big folder and on the front of it there was a big stamp that said top secret. Anybody who works in legal, you know what the silks are like. They have these documents wrapped in silk so that they can't open them. Well, we need to stamp our documents and we need to stamp them top secret or something. When you've stamped a document, I can now track it. I can see that it's been emailed to somebody who isn't on the allow list. What do I do then? Well, I just stop the email. Isn't that easy? But if it's not stamped, I can't do it. Oh, come on, clicker, catch up with me. I want to tell the user that they're doing something wrong. This is part of Azure Information Protection, but it's a bit that most people don't know about. When you attach a document to an email and you hit the send button, I can check it. I can say, did you know you're sending that to somebody who is outside of the business? This is a highly confidential document. Should you really be doing that? Please click here to say, yes, you know, and you accept the risks. And then when you do that, we track it. This becomes part of a log. If that data breaches, somebody let it out, well, we know who sent it internally, and they checked, and we checked that they checked, So we've got a good way of controlling it. So we're helping the user. Now, this one here happens to be in the Outlook client, but I can do the same thing in the web client. So I can provide those tooltips. Did you know you're sending this to somebody outside? And of course, I can block it anyway, because we can use data loss prevention to do that. We can then start doing reports on what goes where. These documents that we've got, which are part of the HR system, who's got access to them? Where did they go? How did they get to them? Did they put them onto Dropbox? Did they put them onto Box? Did they upload it to Salesforce? These are all useful things to know. And when we start monitoring things and when we start preparing and reporting on all of this, we actually get a lot of good information as to what's going on. A lot of people think, yeah, highly confidential stuff, it's internal. Therefore, we need to keep it internal. Yes? Sounds right? Except that our legal partner is outside the business. We use Eversheds, is that fine? Yeah, great. Can I email it to them? Well, no, I can't because they're outside. It's an internal document. I'm not allowed to do it. Well, okay, maybe we do. What happens to that report that you've been asked for by somebody specific and you need to share it with just this one person, but they're not on the allow list? How do you get that out there? Most people cheat. They put it in Box, Dropbox. They put it on a USB stick and let it go. But we need to be doing that better. We need to be controlling it and reporting on it. This is all part of your security posture. Your security posture is not just, we've got Defender for Endpoint, we've got Defender for Office 365, we've got Defender for Identity, we've got Defender for Servers. In fact, we've got more defenders than the England football team. Actually, we have got more defenders than the England football team. But what we need is to understand what that means to the business. What should we be doing with this data? How are we controlling the data loss? Are we putting in something that says, do you know what? Even if you've got this file, you can't open it. When it comes to compliance, yeah, okay, GDPR, it's big, it's frightening. We know what it means though, but how do we implement that in our systems to make sure that we're only sharing the data that we should be sharing without stopping people in HR doing their job, because they have a job to do. When you understand what your compliance requirements are, you can then put together a roadmap to deliver them. But if you don't have that roadmap, you will never get to the end. Question from earlier that Jacques asked was, don't leave it too late. Make that first step. It is never too early to take the first step. It's also never too late to take the first step. The important thing is, take the first step. Define what you want and work towards it. Anybody got a business plan they've ever had to put together? Did it survive more than 6 months of real interaction with the business? Well, probably not. So this roadmap that you're going to put together needs to be reviewed. Every 3 months, 6 months, year, that's down to you. But you need to have it, and you need to have it in place. So, understanding your security posture, implementing the controls to give you that security posture, and understanding that by security we mean allowing people to do their jobs while stopping people from stopping them doing their jobs. Because that's what the attackers are doing, they're stopping us doing our jobs. We can help do that. We have a toolkit that allows us to do a security posture assessment, and there's lots and lots about at the SPA that will come up later on. But what you're going to find now is somebody from an external organisation is going to come up and talk to you about what the SPA can deliver and how it can be used for you.